Alright, we should now be live. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's project where I will be playing with Blender 5.0, volumes, and shader stuff. But before we get to that, I just want to mention that I downloaded the latest 5.0 beta today, and there seems to be a pretty big performance regression. It's not a... I assume it's a little bug because it wasn't in the previous build that I had. So I will be switching to that, but if you're wondering why Eevee is a bit slow, it's probably just that little issue. So, I'm going to very quickly be right back and switch to the previous build that I had, which is technically the Blender 5.1 beta, but, you know, it's no big deal. So, let me go and boot that up real quick. And now we should see that we're getting a pretty crisp 30 frames per second rather than the 7 frames per second. And just to showcase this, let's see, let's wait for it to bake again, and we should see the frame rate is around 200 frames per second. So it seems like there's a slight, it'll probably be fixed on Monday, I would assume, but if you're wondering why Blender is a little bit slow, that's probably why. So I'm gonna be technically in Blender 5.1. But anyway, with that out of the way, we can take a look at this little volume setup that I have here. Let me turn off motion blur, because that glitches out a little bit. So as we can see here, I've been playing around with volumes and volume simulation, and I'm not entirely sure if we can do smoke sims yet, just because the pressure part is a little bit funky, but I wanted to get into that. Okay, so basically, with the grid, I go and store some other grids like pressure, velocity, and the position, but that's not too important. I advect the velocity using this setup because I want to advect the velocity and the position. There is an advect grid node, but as far as I've seen, I haven't been able to do the wrap system, so this is kind of the best method for that, even though I'm probably wrong about that. But I just do that to advect the grids. And then for the pressure, I do this, which I truly don't know why. I need to get the scale and set it to be a power of 2 to compensate with the grid divergence, because it appears that these two take the grid size into account, which skyrockets the value. So this apparently compensates for it, but I don't know why. But anyway, with that, we can see that if we take a look at the pressure force value, it seems to be mostly correct. So if I take a look at this and look in here, we can see that it's mostly fine. It doesn't skyrocket. The values seem to be okay. I'm not sure why that's the case. It shouldn't really, but I'm assuming that I'm just missing a part of the equation, and this is just a band-aid on top of that. Let's see. I see the question in the chat. I will get to that eventually, but it'll just take a quick second. But yeah, we have that, we subtract that to the velocity based on the delta time, and that offsets it. Now, the thing is, if this grid was scaled any differently, it probably would not work. For some reason, this is what works. I don't know why. But, yes. And then for the points, once again, if we take a look at that, we can see that we just have points. We sample the grid, velocity grid, stored as named attribute so that I can view it in the shader editor, scale it by the delta time, add it to the position, wrap it, set it the position normally, set the material, and then we have this setup. So it's pretty cool, but there's another little thing that's even cooler. Let me go and hide the points. You saw that I advected the position attributes, which means that I can go and warp anything. So in this case, nope, that is the wrong one. We need to connect that to the actual output. Let's just have a reroute there. We can see that we have this little sphere that's being, you know, just the length of the position, and then that happens. But if I show the simulation, it gets warped because I'm actually warping the position. So remember to have the reroute right here. So here's the general position of the grid, and it warps, which means that if we were to put an image into here, and look at it from the top, that's fine, but then as it goes along, it gets completely dispersed. Now, the colors will not mix accurately, because, well, we're just referring to the position attribute, and we can see some of the errors in the sim, but it seems to be alright, at least a bit, but that's a cool little thing right there. So if you had a texture, like smoke, or like a ground texture, and you wanted the smoke to move it around, you could, in theory, do that. That is good. But yes, that is the sub for that. But for today, I want to play with the shader repeat zone to do recursive subdivision. I did it quite a while ago, and I want to try it again with all my new knowledge and all that fun stuff. So, should we go to a new Blender scene? I think that would be good. Okay, 1 second while I go and open up a new, fresh Blender scene. General. Okay, I'll read that one question from the chat really soon. Let's see, just need to set up the scene, go into the shader editor. So yeah, I wanted to do recursive subdivision again after a long, long time. Let's see, how did you learn geometry nodes? I learned geometry nodes basically whenever they added a new node, I would look into it and see what it did. So with all the new grid nodes, I'm currently going through that process, learning it and trying to figure out what the heck happens with it. Let's see, let's set up a repeat zone. I love how fast these are now. I was worried that the, oh, a little bit max spec right there, but that's not too bad. No, I want that into there and that into there. So for recursive subdivision, I basically want to split the UV in half and then keep doing that with a random orientation, which will be interesting to do. Where was I going with that? Oh, right, with the question about how I learned geometry nodes. Whenever they added in a new one, I went and played around with it, saw what it did, and then incorporated it into my workflow, which is what I'm doing with the grid nodes, even though those ones are a lot more complex than I thought they would be. So with this method, let's do the most basic subdivision I can do. This is not the best. Actually, let's just do a multiply fraction. So here I'm going to use a scale node, set it to do 2, and then fraction. So here, if we just do this, we can see, oh, it's subdividing. But I want this to be regular, I guess. I want it to be elongated on one side rather than the other one. So how am I going to do that well? I think the best option would be to separate one of the axes, use a map range, and then warp where the middle of it is. Yeah, that might be a good idea. So map range. There's probably a more elegant way. So if I just have a value node and put this into here, we can set that to be between 0.1 and 0.5, but if we have another one, and then set this to be between the min and the max, and then go and use a maximum, or greater than, or a maximum. I forgot. Or if the value is greater than 1, I'll go and switch to the other. That might be a good idea. Or actually, wait. We can multiply it, subtract by 1, and then... Oh yeah, no, that's probably a better way. So here I'm going to divide this by 0.5, do that, and then subtract, and then subtract by 1, and then multiply by the same thing. And I think, in theory, that should give us the gradient that I desire. Let's go and use a combine XYZ node and see if that worked. There's a 50% chance it does. It did not. Or did it? No, it did not. Okay. So, why did that not work? If I set it to be 0.5, the Y should be... Oh, that's because I need to... Yeah, we have that. So if it's greater than 1, let's double check this. Let's make sure that's only set to 1. We have that right there, and then that does that. Right? Yeah, okay. Let me also disconnect you so that I can properly see this. Yep, that's working, so we want that to be 1. And then we just need to mix between the old one and the new one, right? So if we do this, and we do that... Hey, that worked. Okay. So I knew what I had to do, I just need to remember. So this gradient will split it and do that, but there should be a better way. Actually, I could just say, could just get the sign of this. But no, the sign would do that. I could just... I'm trying to eliminate the mix node right here. I could just do that and then add, which might be good. How do we do this even simpler? Oh wait, what am I talking about? I could just less than and then add this to that. And hopefully... No, that did not work. I don't want to use a mix node, but I think I might have to. Alright, looks like a mix node is on the menu. Dang it. Could be simpler though. I'm beating myself up over a little thing. I think that might be the simplest way. No, there must be a way. If I clamp the divide, but no, that's like adding in a whole nother part to it. I think it's fine the way it is. And then I just need to swap the axes potentially, so that I can change whether it's vertical or horizontal. But that's good. Now we could go into here and see how that works. Yep, that is recursively subdividing. We can go and use a white noise texture. Let's pray that this part works as intended. Plug this into our value node. So yeah, let's do a noise texture set to be one dimension. Use an add, put that into there, plug you into there. So here we should see that yes, we get a different phase for every single one. Nice. Now all we have to do is switch the axes. Let's see. Let's read the chat again. Hey, Caramel, no worries if you would rather stream what you wish. I'm having trouble infecting. Me too. Let's see. When the new physics solver like Vellum Flip and Pops, when are the physics solvers coming to Blender? Well, it won't be the Houdini versions because those are Houdini specific. Oh, wait a minute. Is this working or are there some errors here? Uh-oh. That shouldn't happen. Uh-oh. Is this not entirely... Wait, I need to go and test some stuff. There's that, and then there's... If we set it to 1, that's fine. If we set it to 0... Okay, so if it goes to 0, it freaks out, which, to be honest, is entirely expected. 0.999... Yeah, no, that's correct. Or is it? Oh, no, it's not. Uh-oh. That's not good. It is not subdividing... Why is it not subdividing correctly? I thought... We divide by that for a multiply, and then we multiply... Oh, shoot. Do the... Oh, maybe this should be the other way around. Nope. 1 minus? Oh, we might need a 1 minus in order for this to work. So we might just need to do that. Nope. That is incorrect. So if we invert that gradient, that's like that, and then it should look like that. Mostly. So why is that not working? Let's try a divide and see what the matter is. Oh, okay, this value needs the 1 minus. Let's just double check. It's a negative, okay. We need a 1 minus there and here. So that does mirror it, which might not be the best. But then that happens, which confuses me. Why is it acting like it has to be negative? Yeah, no, it should be like that. Little bit of debugging. I haven't done this for a while. Now we subtract by 1 to make the base gradient go to there. Why is it insisting on being a negative? Multiply? Oh, right, because of that. Yeah. Okay, so we have that. If we divide... Okay. No, this is all... Nope, that's broken as well. This is very odd. It's like that should work. Why are you a problem? If I mirror it, it's not, though. So I think I'm just going to, again, do the simplest option, which is to do the same operation, but just invert the thingies. Not too elegant, but it works. And I still need to flip the axes, which is also annoying. There has to be an easier way. I could just... No, okay. That's enough of doing that. Okay, let's do the swizzle. So I need to do a mix. Or no. Just need to do a separate and a combine. That is conditional. So just that and that. And then do a mix between them using a vector math mix. Or a vector mix. That'll just flip the axes. And maybe I want them to flip more. But we can make that a random value, use a greater than, and I'll need different seed values for all that as well. That little setup, just to flip those around. The mix, make that like that. That's the flip axes. So, Oh, also we need to have an individual seed for every new cell that's created. Yes, we do. Okay. So it looks like we're going to need a seed value. Okay, that's not the worst. So this will be iteration to seed. Okay. The seed value. I just need to add this greater than to one or the other. So we have that. Oh gosh, we're getting into spaghetti territory. Oh no. This is why I love named attributes. We don't need to deal with the spaghetti. Yikes. So I could just go and add that to that. But that wouldn't be the best. We need to like multiply the seed by 2 and then add to there so that we'll truly have a unique one. I think. Or... That might work. This is getting very out of hand very, very fast. Then we connect the seed value here instead. And then we have that. And right here, we can set this to be a ratio of like 0.5. So in this, and it broke everything. Why did it break everything? Yeah, no, that should be fine. UV's going there, the iterations... Oh, wait, why did that happen? Okay. So now, if we do this, we should see that, yes, that is being manipulated. And let's not forget... Actually, we don't need the actual iteration value in here. That might not be the best idea anyway. We could just add... Ooh. Here we add 2 to the previous iteration, and then this will add 1 or nothing. So that'll make the iteration actually go up. This is our flipper. So this will be flip. And then this will be subdivide. So I think that'll work. Potentially. Probably. It almost does. We have the previous iteration. Let's take a look at the iteration. So let's go and use a white noise texture. Put that into the W. We can see that no, it is not working. Okay, why are you selecting like that? Okay, let's take a look at this. So how is this actually working? This is the greater than. That should decide whether it's cell 0 or 1. And then we have the seed value right here. So we have iteration. The iteration goes up by 2 every single iteration. That is correct. And then we add 1 depending if you're in cell 1 or 0. Let's go and make sure that that actually works. Something is incorrect about that. Or no, it is correct. We take a look at this, 0, 1. Yes. Seed 0, and then it'll be 1 or 2. Yeah, no, it has to go up every single time. Just a little bit of debugging on a nice Sunday morning. Okay, so every time this happens, we should see that, yes, that changes. If we go and set this to be right here, this should change, but I'm going to disable the flipper just to make sure. Okay, let's go back to 0. So 0, we should see... let's set this to be 0.5, so that will always divide in half. 1, 2, okay, that's all different. That's all different. That's all different. That's all different. And that's all different. Or no, it's not. Why is that occurring? Is this because of the integers? Let me switch this to be a nice float value. And absolutely nothing happens. Okay, that's fine. Flipper is 0.5, so let's reattach the flipper and see what happens. Why does that appear to work now? I am very confused. No, it's not working. Because let's attach you just so that we can verify. Yeah, no, that's not working. Maybe I need to add one? Every single part here? Nope. We do that, then we do that, which appears to be like that and that. We do that, and then we do that. Oh, wait, no, I know what's going on. Yeah, okay. It is cool, though. Oh, look at all these cool patterns. Maybe I need to just make it even higher. Nope, that is not helping. Multiply by 2. Okay, that appears to help. Why does that help? Because when I multiply by 2... Oh, okay. When I multiply by 2, it leaves a 1 value gap where then I can fill it with the greater than right here, while still giving it a unique value. Okay. That does work, but I'm also still annoyed by it. Okay. Though with that, we can now... Actually, let's make this 2-dimensional noise. Or no, let's go and separate the white noise so that we can then plug it into whatever we need. We're at 24 minutes. This is going slower than expected, but it is okay. Let's do a noise texture, 1 dimension. I will read the chat soon. Sorry, everyone. Let's go and do that. Plug you into the value. I still want to fix this, but it's okay. It is functional, and that's all that matters. There's a reroute in there. Ugh. It hurts seeing it like this. Okay, let's go and do that and also add to the value so that we can use, because we do not have constants in the shader editor, hashtag frame. Yep, that seems to work. Divide. Yeah, well, wait, we needed to attach that there and into there. So now, now we can see that when we move this, that moves along as intended. So let's set that to be 24. Nope, that is way too fast. 1000. That is too slow. 250. There we go. Always turn off temporal reprojection, even though... Yeah, there we go. So now we can see the cubes are moving around. But this could be even simpler. I know it can. Let's take a look at the UVs. We can see that the UVs are doing their job. I still want to make this part better. So let's go back. Look at that. Oh, it's so fast, and we can do so many iterations until you can't see anything. Oh, it is lovely. So we can see that this part is kind of ping-ponging the value. But that's not the way I want it to go, is it? I still want the UVs to rotate. Or... Yeah, let me think about the logic. Let me read the chat instead. Okay. Affecting spheres from points to an SDF grid. They keep stopping from growing. Not sure what's wrong. Yeah, grids are quite confusing. I think recursive subdivision in the shader space could be possible. Yes, it has been possible for a long time. I have done that in the past with node groups, but it was just massively inconvenient because we would need to copy the node group a bajillion times. But now, it's just a zone setup. No node groups required, and it is significantly faster, at least in Eevee. Let's see, add double precision socket type, attribute, math supports for geometry node. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm assuming that's Houdini stuff that you want to bring into GeoNodes. But I kind of don't see that happening anytime soon. Let's change the color management to be aces. No, let's make it standard. There we go, so that we can see the raw values. Oh my god, that is very hard on the eyes. Let's see, what if you change the divide to multiply? You probably cannot use the bundle in the zone to keep a native loop. Most likely, yeah. How's 5.0? First impressions, thoughts, insights. 5.0 is looking very good. One of the biggest things I was nervous about was the repeat zones not getting native loops, which apparently that made it in after the deadline, which I am amazed by. They were able to fit it in, which I'm so happy about, which means that these are actually convenient to use now. Let's see. Is there multiplayer in Blender? Unfortunately, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Mr. Riz Lord. That is a name for the ages. Okay, let's re-examine this. Let's go and set this to be just one dimension, turn off the flipper, and take a look at this. So I am just flipping that value and then doing that. But I think... I could just use two mix values. That just doesn't seem right. What is the easiest way to subdivide? Did I subtract the gradient to be in the middle? Use an absolute. Actually, let's take a look at this. So absolute, let's go and chop you out of here because I want to just examine this. Subtract u by u and then do this. That'll give us the gradient in the middle like that. And then depending on the sign, it'll multiply or divide the value. But no, that would still need a mix mode. So if we use a greater than here, we'll see that we have 1 or 0, which can determine whether we multiply or divide the gradient. So we can use a mix node. Divide or multiply by the same value. So this may actually be a good idea. Let's see. I might have, yeah, I might have it the wrong way around. Divide and a multiply. That is also incorrect. Please, for the love of all that is holy. I do need a... yes, we still need the 1 minus. So that does work, and that is less nodes, I think. Let's see, with this, it is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 node less. Though it is a bit easier on the eyes. Actually, wait. 2 of those, 2 of those. Oh, wait. It might actually be more nodes. 2 subtracts, 2 divides, 1 greater than, a mix. Yeah, no. It is worse by 1. Yep, it is actually worse. Okay. Dang, there must be an easier way. Even though that's not too bad, it still doesn't feel right. The shader repeat zone is not native if there's a bundle or closure in it. I did test a closure last week, I believe, for a ray marching setup, and that seemed to work. It could be incorrect though. Wait, should I flip the UV map in post? That might be actually no, this is fine. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There we go. And we can also turn up the detail, which is funny. Let me go and multiply our noise by a lot. Let's see. Let's see. Unfortunately not. Node wizards like Cartesian Caramel would ruin the casual experience for us average. Oh, you meant multiplayer as in Blender multiplayer. I thought you meant like, oh, playing multiple videos at once? As far as I know, the sequencer does not have that. But no, you were talking about actual Blender multiplayer. Which, if I remember correctly, there was a add-on that did something like that, which I forgot who made it, but it was like an actual company that used it. So in theory that works, but it's a little bit janky if I remember correctly. Yeah, this is recursive subdivision, but it could be simpler. Something in my brain is just saying it can be simpler, so try to make it simpler. Subtract, then sign, then divide. Oh, could a sign make it work? If I did that and then plug that into there. It's not that many nodes. It feels like it could be better. I am so tempted to try it. Here, let me just copy the material. I, again, subtract this, then use the sign. This sign. Oh, why did I make it line? That's weird. I use the sign, or greater than. The sign would allow me to divide by a negative, which might help. If I were to divide this by a negative, plug it into there. Cool. Very cool. Not what I want, though. Oh, right, and no, I did not want that to happen. I mean, it almost does something. Let me also go and check that. Yeah, no. Let's reduce this to 1 once more. And take a look at the actual UV map outputs. Yes, of course. No, it pains me to say this, but I think this is the best way. And then if I'm worried about the flipping of the UV map, I could just do another 1 minus. So 1 minus, 1 minus, 1 minus, 1 minus. Again, not great. Yeah, but it works. Uh-oh. I need to connect that again. There we go. Now it still flips the UV map, which I could make it so that instead of the UV map actually being flipped, I could flip which way it gets split in. I feel like that's a bad idea. Because I could just do... I would need like 4 mix nodes, which seems less than ideal. Yeah, mix for there, mix for there, mix for there, and a mix for there. Yeah, no. When I could just... Well, it pains me how those are a little bit squashed. Actually, they're... No, almost perfect. What am I talking about? Yeah. We can do that and then do another invert in post to undo that. But I'd say that's not necessary. We love recursive subdivision. There we go. But we could use a power of 2 or 3 or 4 just to make it a bit more... yes, and we need to do a clamp node to make sure it does not actually hit 0 or 1, because that leads to, you know, bad stuff with division. If we do this, it cannot explode. It is physically incapable of exploding. If we do that, we can see that those parts do that, and we can just make it even tinier, but... Actually, if I were to disable U, look how fast that recalculates. It does make it a bit nicer, because I do not have, and we don't have easing functions in here. It was the Ubisoft/Mixer add-on, but it's unsupported now. Ah, yes, that makes sense. But it's a cool idea, though very, very hectic. Zero. Which means it never... Wait, why is it still splitting? It would be impossible for it to split. Wait. Why does it look like it's still... Or not splitting, but rotating? Because with this, it shouldn't be able to. Oh, what if I were to do something really funny? Yes. Quite cool. If we do that, we do that. If we do this, it'll... Trippy. You love to see it. Okay, let's plug that into there, collapse that. I feel like the noise here, it doesn't feel right. Is it the scale that's the problem? Because I could just multiply you by that. Which, yeah, the scale for that should have been 1 from the get-go. It doesn't feel random enough. Oh, that's because this has to be a very, very odd value. 333, 333. There we go. That feels a lot better. But maybe not good enough. Let's multiply this by 3. Nope. Why are you... Still appears to be incorrect. What if we just did not use a random value for that? No, the random value is the way. And I think, no, we're not using the same one for there and there. I have node curving on, but yeah, it's a bit hard to see there. So I think that's everything for our recursive subdivision. But if we separate x, y, z, actually before we do that, we need to do a subtract by 0.5. Let's go and do this. Also, I hope you enjoyed the new music. I got some new music besides the Zelda track that I've been using for the past year or so. It's time for a change, because I've been doing this stuff for years now, and it's been far too long with the same music. We have to upgrade, become better. And we need to absolute, because I keep forgetting that part. There we go, we have that. Change it to be a smooth maximum, so that we have this. There we go. But something still does not feel right. Map range, let's change this to be a smoother step. Plug that into there. Yeah, it's a bit better. Set it to be 80. Change that to be 0. Nope, that is the wrong one. What I meant to do was bring this over to here. Let's go and delete you. F. Bring you up to there. But yes, I am liking Blender 5.0 quite a bit. Quite a bit. I plan on making a video for the geometry attribute constraint going over it, but unfortunately due to the viewport error that I showed at the beginning of the stream, I'm gonna have to wait a few days for them to fix that because it is not really possible to showcase it when I'm rendering in Eevee because I want to show some practical examples with a project that I had, and it's hard to do that when the frame rate is 7 frames per second for some reason. But oddly enough, not in this build. Yes, the geometry attribute constraints. I find it really funny that the icon for that, I made that SVG when I first thought up of the node. Just spent like 20 minutes in Inkscape being like, are the circles too big? No, let's make them a little bit smaller. Brought it into Blender, and that's the one thing that never changed with the attribute, the icon, which I was a little surprised by. I thought that would have been a point of... I thought that would have a bit more feedback. But I'm not complaining. It looks good. Yeah, that does not look good. Let's go and change it to be that and that. Reduce it by a bit. Yeah, set you to be 0.5 and that to be around right there. So now you can have a ton of cubes going. Oh, wait, I forgot about the time. So one little trick that I'm not sure everyone knows about is that if you go and white noise and offset your time value, it'll turn it into motion blur. So if we do this, we can see that this now has motion blur. Now it's not exactly a lot of motion blur. We need to really up the amount by a lot, like a lot. If we turn it up more and more, it's shader motion blur, which is quite cool. Although, I want to go and... Let's see, let's use a combine color node, set it to be hue, saturation, and value. Use a white noise because I want to change the hues that we're using. I don't want the full hue range because it looks kind of a mess. Even though that looks absolutely beautiful, my god. Let's set that to be between this and... Oh wait, no, I want the outputs to be different, not the inputs. There we go, that's a little bit better. Maybe a bit more into the oranges. What kind of fall-ish colors? Because I love fall. It is the best season. There we go. So there we have it. Shader motion blur. Once you have enough samples, it looks quite good. It's actually, how fast will this run? Yeah, that runs very, very fast. It's weird seeing it on my screen, because I think my screen's limit is 120 or 90 frames per second. But you all cannot see that at this time. But yeah, that looks good. So if you want tons of motion blur, that's how you do it. And you don't need the UV as the input, it just needs to be a random value per screen input. So here we can see every single option with this. Oh, what if I offset this using... Oh, that's actually a really good idea. If I use the array node, let's go and make it transform. That to be 0. I want to show this in terms of time. So So let's go and separate XYZ and plug, oh wait, no, I want the geometry inputs. Let's offset this thing based on time, or based on the height. Let's just plug you into there. And actually, I shouldn't have deleted that because I wanted to showcase that as well. Okay, so with this setup, it will offset the value based on height. Actually, does this output a random index? No, but it does give us, and make it so that the instances are like that. So if I go and change this, we should see, there we go. We can see that this is being delayed through time, and we can still go and add in our motion blur. But let's make that a different multiply. Look how fast the compilation time is. That is lovely. And we can just add as many as we want. Let's go and turn on realize instances. Look at that. Lovely. And I could just extrude it, but I want to also see the layers. Oh, also, let's not forget, because with the new array modifier, I could just rotate it by that. Look at that. Pretty cool, if you ask me. Oh, okay, we need to go and offset you by a bit more. There we go. Oh wait, but it's no longer offset by time because of, yeah, that. If we turn off realize instances, potentially, I can access the instance index. No, I don't think we can. If we use object info, we can get the location color alpha, object int, would that work? Greater than? Please work. No. No, that does not work. I can get random though. But yeah, I would have to go inside the setup to output the instance index. Or just store it in post, because geometry nodes. Let's go and do that, because we love geometry nodes in this household. Let's go to here, and we are at 47 minutes. Man, I thought I was going to go and do some more rather than just this. And that's okay. Let's go and do... Why was I going to store 4x4 matrix? Let's just do... Oh wait, instance index is already there? Wait, can I just access that? Attribute? Object? Instance index. Did I spell that correctly? Geometry? Instance index? You know, that's an integer, so in theory, instance index greater than? Is that stored in here? I'm assuming it's just a native, Sorry, I got jump scared. What to do, is there a single store name attribute node in here? From my brief scanning, I can say... Probably not. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. And these nodes... Let's see, why would that exist? Instancer? Oh, wait, why did I select object? It has to be instancer, right? I forgot. So now we don't even need you. Yes. So now ignore what I did before. I was being a dum-dum. Here we go. So now we can offset this by time once more. Ah, that is beautiful. That doesn't look as animated as I was hoping for. That's quite cool. Quite cool. And again, I can just extrude this and then take the geometry position. But I, again, like seeing the... Look at, delicious. Whee! Let's set that to be like maybe 0.5. And just reduce this to be a bit less. Bit less, even less. Let's set that to be 0.005. And rotate. And rotate. And then we can multiply that by even less. There we go. The weird thing is, it looks like it's going slower just because we're showing more of the time. Let's see. Hey, Cartesian, what's your real name? I mean, it's out there. It's in the credits of Sonic 3. But I don't think I should say right here on a live stream. You can call me Cartesian or Caramel. Either is fine. Let's see. Hi, did you see the black hole shader that... Unfortunately, I cannot pronounce that name. I am so sorry. Mind-blowing if you ask me. I tried to make something like that, but it seems a bit too complicated. I did see that shader, and it is absolutely amazing. That creator, even though I cannot pronounce their name, unfortunately, they make incredible stuff. They made the, like, water sim, the two-dimensional water sim in GeoNodes, which was absolutely incredible. But yes, quite amazing. It's amazing. What else should I do with this setup? Let's see. Also, can you please talk a bit about context in geometry nodes? I'm not sure what you mean by context. Oh, that looks so cool. Sorry, I just love seeing this. Though, let's go and eliminate it and just make this completely based off of the heights. Or I could make this the UV. Let's make another UV map. Nope, not a vertex group. I want another UV map. Let's go and project from view. And make sure that is just based... actually, project from view bounds. There we go. Let's go back to the shader editor, not that one. Separate X, Y, Z. And then we can go and plug you into there. So now, in theory... Wrong UV map. Let's go and get UV, UV map UV, plug you into here so that you are definitely that one, and you are definitely that one. Excuse-moi. Oh, no, wait, that's why that's happening. Yeah, I need to make the main UV map just a little bit smaller. Because it would only show black because that's what the borders are. So there we go. We just have it right there, just a little bit inwards. It looks a lot better. Back to the GeoNodes tab. There we go. So here we can see all of that just fine. I kind of want to disable the motion blur though. There we go. Much cleaner result. Simply because we don't have enough samples to work with. So we can see that the motion blur also works quite well there. But yeah, let's go and delete you, we can keep you, delete you, plug you there, move you over to here, actually have the correct UV input for that, UV map, plug that into there, and call it a day. Do you want to try doing ray marching from scratch again? Look at that. So cool. Let's reduce this so that it is only just 1 meter tall, even though I forget that the default cube is 2 meters wide, which in my opinion, it should be a diameter of 1, not a radius of 1. Because Minecraft cubes and just meters. Yeah, that is fine. Let's go and actually move this downwards so that we can see that that is there at 1 of 1. Let's go and set you to be 1024. Bring you over to here, lock the camera view, bring you over to here, downwards. And that's good. Bring that to black. That's good. And that looks pretty cool. Okay, I guess we can try ray marching now. Let's see. What's a context in geometry nodes? Because it seems to be a fundamental concept in geonodes that allows for the evaluation. For example, the position node evaluates differently dependent on the context it gets. Different geometry types give different results off of the position node. Okay, that kind of context. So in geometry nodes, some inputs are context dependent. Like with this, the position node, if it's on a mesh, it'll give you the point position. If you put it on a curve, it'll give the curve position. If you use it on an instance, it'll give you the position of the instance from the transform. So that's basically, there's only a few nodes that are input nodes that are context dependent. If you use a radius node, it'll give you either the point cloud radius or the curve radius. But if you ever don't know what's going on, just use the named attribute node. It's all of these nodes combined into one. If you're confused as to what data is available, just look into here and you'll see, okay, UV map 01, sharp face, and position. So just use that, you'll be good. Let's see. But yeah, things that are context dependent, while they can be convenient, they can also be confusing if you don't know like what context they run on, which I think the only way you can know is from testing. While with the named attribute node, it takes out all the guesswork, but you do have to be more specific. So when in doubt, just use the named attribute node. Now there is some data that you can't access with the named attribute node, but that is very, very little. Let's see which ones. I think it's the ID value. ID and then set ID. But actually, no, that is a generic attribute now, so all that is fine. Yeah, I think the only one that you can't get is the index, which is... Yeah, no, I think this is the only one that you cannot get with the named attribute node. So yeah, all you need to really know is this one and these ones, I think. The index just gives you the index of the point, the edge, the face, the spline, the instance, anything. So just use these two and you will be fine. Do you read off the trees and geonodes from right to left because the actual evaluation starts from the group output? I usually don't worry about that. I just think of this like a shader editor. So even though geometry node evaluation goes from right to left, I just straight up don't worry about it. In my brain, it just works the same way. It's just like, oh, you connect that to there, the data goes from there to there. So I read it as just going from that way to that way, even though the evaluation works the other way. You don't need to really worry about that all too much, unless you're really trying to debug something. Just don't worry about it. It's fine. We have 53 people here. Hello. In case you missed it, here is the recursive subdivision. It's a little bit complex now. I apologize. Let me go and put some frames into here. But yeah, this is the recursive subdivision setup. So this is just random. And this is just the split phase, I guess you can say. I really need to decide whether or not I'm going to capitalize the beginnings of all these or not. I guess just not is better. Makes you look more professional. I guess, maybe. Split phase, that's fine. But yeah, recursive subdivision. You flip the UV map. This is just flipping that in that part. Now, is there a better way to flip these? I could just use a vector rotate node, but that's more expensive computationally. And that's right there, which is a little bit janky with the way that all that flows. But just make it a node group and you never have to look at it again. Yeah, we can just go and set this to however many we want. It works like a charm. Very noisily. But we can see that there are some errors right there. This is because we need to clamp to make this save. This needs to be either 0.00001 or 0.99999. We can see that the void parts disappear, again with it without and with. That's just because if you divide by 0, that is a problem. YouTube compression probably loves this. Let's tone it down to be 10. Nah, that's a bit too noisy. But I could make this work on both axes. I don't need to. That wouldn't look as good. Oh, wait a minute. I just remembered. I can offset the phase by one of the axes. Oh, that is going to be dastardly. Sounds like a fancy word, but I actually don't know what that word means. So if we do this and offset the time, based on this... Nope, that is the wrong one. Based off this... Actually, no, that is the wrong one as well. Based off of... Oh, wait, no. Yeah, based off of this... Whoa. We're offsetting the time based on the opposite axis, which makes it still recursive subdivision, but it is wacky. Look at that. I forgot I could do that. Whee! I can make this even more wacky. Ooh. You love to see it. Even though I should make this into a node group, or several, just for a clean node setup. Here we can see it in a bit more detail, yeah. I could offset that also with the seed value. This is a horrible idea. Yes, let's connect that into there, even though I could make it a different seed value. And that technically does work. Lovely. Even though this is a complete and total mess, it is technically accurate recursive subdivision. This is a disaster. Wow. Beautiful. But can you clearly see... Okay, you can still see the straight lines a bit. But that's to be expected. There's some straight lines that you cannot avoid. But no, the only straight lines that I can't avoid are the initial cell. Let's see. Let's go and increase that a lot more. So beautiful. This is offsetting just the time value, so maybe if I just did that. Almost looks like a fluid simulation. Almost. Set that to be 1 and 0. Oh! That is cool. If we just do that, it turns into... Oh, this is amazing. Ah, you love to see it. Look at that. And we can still put in the motion blur if we want that, but I think that's a little bit too much. Let's set that to 0.25. But yeah, this is starting to get really messy. Okay. How are we going to do this right? I can't exactly... Oof. Yeah, no, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. Okay. Let's try to reorganize this in the least chaotic way possible. Yeah, how do we do that? wait, I could just cross product that. Oh, no, that's more expensive. Okay, so we have you. Okay, let's reorganize this again. This is just our time value. Don't want that to be from instancer. We just want that and that and that. We have you, we have you, we have you, we have you, and we have you. Okay. So that appears to be redundant. We don't need you. We can plug you into there and then you into there. Okay, that's not bad. There we go. A little bit of reorganization. And then we can just manipulate the phase of that. Okay, not the worst. It is still a little bit annoying with the mix here, but if we collapse that, that doesn't look too bad. We have that, that, and that, and then that, that, and that. Not bad. Though I still want to make the random a bit different. Okay, let's take a look at you. Oh, that is beautiful. I want to add in motion blur again. So let's go over to here, plug you into here, get the UV map. UV, white noise. There we go, set to be 2 dimensions of white noise. Use and multiply. We are past an hour. Let's see, and then let's go and turn you down by a bit. Though, here, this would be a little bit more accurate. If we plug this into the add and set it to be 1, this means it'll offset 1 frame exactly. Which means that this will be accurate motion blur set to 1. If we do this, it'll be 2 frames of motion blur. If we do 0.5, it would be 0.5 frames. So this is the most accurate motion blur. Then if we do this, it'll be 10 frames, which is a little bit much. Let's see. Could still do that, but for the cleanliness of the node tree, I will leave it out for now. So I think that is everything. Let's go and read the chat again. Flipper is flipping correctly. Could still offset that by even... Oh, that is beautiful. I don't know why. Sometimes the faces sync up. 0.75. 0.5. And I could make that even more. Though I should be wary about... Yeah, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 should be fine. Just needs to be a very odd value. I think it might be a bit much. Let me go and restrain values a bit so that we just have it kind of waving. Like that a bit. We can go and do that, so, yes. There we go. Strain it a bit more. Nice. So now we have a very nice wave pattern, but no, it's not. Can't make it lean more to one side or the other. Leads to that, which is okay. Maybe just like that. I think that's a good mix. Then we can go and turn it up even more so that we just have so many colors, it makes your eyes hurt. As we can see, looks kind of good. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, Phase 4, Phase 5, Phase 6, Phase 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think 10 or 8 is enough. Let me constrain the those hues again. That looks kind of like lava. Let's have another camera, because I still want to see the time value. There's a very nice looking shader. Let's have you be orthographic, with a size of 1, looking from the top. Oh, you love to see it. Another reason why the default cube should be 1 meter instead of 2. Now if we look at this, we can just see that. Okay, so how do I make this look even better? What I could do is add indent on this so that we can do a nice hue offset. Not bad, not bad. I could also try... No, that would require me to do like a Voronoi, find the neighboring cell so that I can blur it. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I could also get an image. So let's go and use a distance node, set this to be greater than, to see what just a circle looks like. Unrecognizable. So these are just circles moving around in space. Oh, these look like mouse cursors. Moving around in space. Let's set the Y offset to be 0. We can see the circle a bit better. They're still stretching, which maybe I could also store the stretching value so that I can make these size independent, but that kind of defeats the purpose of the recursive subdivision. Yeah. Though I can store them. Yeah, I could do that. If I just combine X, Y, Z, I just have these two values, that'll give me the division. Wait, that one or that one? Or no, I just need... Yeah, no, that one and mix it depending on that. Now put that as... Not a UV map. But yeah, just store the scale there. Actually, no, I would need to store that as a UV map. Because I need to find the right scale because of the UV switcher. Maybe that's not the best idea. Okay, let's just do that again. Oh, that looks so good. So what would happen if it was less than? Yeah, and we also, we do need the motion blur. Because again, if I'm going to be posting this to social media... Oh, wait a minute. The time dilation, I can still do some other cool stuff with this. So, vector, 2 dimensions. Nope, that needs to be an add, and then this needs to be a multiply. There we go. Let's go and put this up to here. Move this over to there. Bing, bang, boom. Do all of that, and we can see, yep, just needs a lot more samples. No shadows, because that just slows everything down. Even though I think in Eevee Next, it's slower if you don't have shadows on. I tested that once. But I wanted to multiply you, that's what I wanted to do. So here, if I just set it to here, we can see that there's a kind of, yeah, kind of a digital moshing effect. I forget if that. Could offset this with RGB, but that would require me to make 3 node groups of this. That might be a bad idea, but it could be really cool. I'm gonna try it. I feel like going for a bit longer. We're at an hour and 14 minutes. Plenty of time. Plenty of time. So, let me go and make a node group of all of this here. Well, first I need to copy it. Node make group. Have this be the node output. So here we're going to use... Or no, wait. No, I don't even need to do that because I'm using noise dithering. All I need to do is do that and then color this based on a color ramp. This dithering makes everything so much easier. So here we're going to vector math multiply this by a color ramp that's based on our noise value here. So color ramp. There we go, plug you into there. So we should... No, we hit the node limit. We hit the node limit? How the heck did we hit the node limit? Oh no, I think I just broke something. Why would... Aw, dang. Combine hue saturation value? Please work? Probably won't. Yep. Too many conversions, because that's the thing with the repeat zone that we need to keep in mind. We can run into the node limit very fast, but no, there's not enough here for that to happen. These aren't being considered by the repeat zone. The only thing that is the noise texture. So what would happen if I copied this? Would that work? Okay. It just needs to be separate from that. Understood. Interesting. I did not hit the node limit. It seems like that just led to an error with stuff and things. So here, let's make sure that you are actually just plain old white. So here, this will make it so that with the motion blur, the part that is moving ahead in time is blue shifted, and the stuff that's behind is red shifted. So the more I multiply the noise, the more we'll see the blue, and otherwise we will see the red. It's a bit much though. Just plug you into there and there. Yeah, it's a bit hard to see. The colors are a little bit drab, I think just because of the color blending. Let's set this to be 200 samples. Just wait for it to resolve. But yeah, you can see it. And here... that and that. Yeah, I don't think that looks too great. So let's go back to the good version, and then I think I will go and end the stream. I'll keep the regular part right there, just so that we can still make this look good. I think we need 2 more subdivisions. The face still doesn't seem right to me. Getting the noise phase, and if it's greater than... Oh, wait a minute. What was up with that? It was set to 0. Wait, it was set to 0 and it still didn't, Wait a minute. Wait, why is it still... Okay, no, that's not flipping. Oh, no, if it's greater than 0, it'll always flip. Yes, no, I was being dumb. Again. Yeah, no, that's good. 1 will turn into basically lava. So if we have this, it'll just be like dunk, 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 dunk. 10 looks okay. Let's turn it down to 8. Oh, let's go back to here. maybe not that. Blue looks good, but I think a bit more into the reds. 0.01. And then, wait, why am I multiplying this? Oh, right, because of that. So I could still do this one, which is cool. Maybe not the best. Then we can do that one again, but I'm not the happiest about that. If I use a HSV node, use saturation value, and then plug you into here, this may give a better result because I can actually make this look good. When in doubt, do a nice little hue shift. Not great. Invert the gradient again. Not great. Even though that looks kind of cool. But the main gradient does not. Green looks actually quite nice. Turn the value down on those. Or 0.5 again. Hue shift into more of the blues. No, I don't like how that looks. That doesn't look good. I can't turn up the saturation because it's already at its max, pretty much. Okay. Control Z. Back to what we know works. Plug that into there. And that's good. Alright, I think that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. Let me go and read the chat one last time before I end the stream. Okay. Make waterfall like Houdini. We are not in Houdini today. Cartesian simulation nodes have a little dash in them. What the sockets below it stand for? Let's see what you're talking about real quick. So simulation, little dash. Are you talking about this thing? This is just the input socket where you can input more things. Personally, I do prefer the store named attribute approach so that you can avoid node links almost in their entirety. But if you need like more geometry inputs, you can do that as well. Yes. Let's see. The circles get too squashed and it looks like a jagged line passing through. Yeah, that could happen. There's a node limit? Yes, there is, because you can just have too many nodes. Particularly, I think in cycles, the node limit is lower than Eevee, but I don't know. How long does it take to get good and fast at doing geonode stuff like you, Cartesian? I just struggle all the time. It takes a while. Like, you need to become familiar with what's going on, what the nodes actually do. But the biggest thing I could recommend is learning how to use, again, I know I keep saying this, but the store named attribute node well. Because if you know how to use this node well, you just, wait, where? Need a, can I resize this? Why is it not wanting me to, okay. Oh, wait, do you need to, wait, where's the sign for being able to resize these? Huh? Okay, that's really weird. I thought it would show like the arrow keys when you do that. Anyway, that might be a little UI bug. Not sure though. But yeah, with this node, it's the most useful node because you can just see like, oh, what data you have, what domain it's on, and what data type it is. You can see like, oh, sharp face, position, and all that, and then you can get the data using this node. Which, you cannot get UV maps in any other way besides this node because it is a named attribute. So, if you know how to use these nodes, it'll help you with every single other node. Because it's like, oh, you'll learn the domains, you'll learn the data types, which every other node does. like the set position node, that this secretly is just a store named attribute node, but with some automatic stuff for like context. It'll automatically switch between like point or instance, depending on what you're using. And I think that's basically it. But yeah, so many nodes are secretly the store named attribute node under the hood. But there are other nodes that do stuff beyond that, like the general operator nodes. But this is always a good baseline to learn because it'll help you with basically everything else. And the only downside is that these can use up a bit more memory unless you use the remove named attribute node. But personally, I've not worried about removing named attributes for a long time because it only remove it if you need to, like if it's really, really unnecessary. And also, this node is just like the capture attribute node, except, well, you don't need to use node links and it's a lot more convenient. I usually only use the capture attribute node if the node that I'm using the thing on is like 1 or 2 nodes after, just because I don't like having tons of node spaghetti. But it is useful if you need to store a lot of data, like several different data types, so that you don't need to go donk, donk, donk. But yeah, these 2 nodes are the MVPs of geometry nodes. I'm also considering, since bundles are now a thing, there's separate bundle, join bundle. I'm thinking about possibly making a get named bundle and store named bundle node, just so that you can go and get a bundle item, kind of like the named attribute node, without having to refresh, drag out the node link. That may be a lot more useful for automatic setups, where it's like, okay, I need to automatically get a certain piece of data that may or may not exist, so you would also need the exists output here. I think that would be a really good idea, but there may be a technical hurdle. It's just an idea. I've not tried to implement it yet. And yes, the combined bundle would be like a store named bundle, because bundles, I think, are always named, I think. Again, if we do this, yeah, that'll happen. If we plug in another one here, we can see that it needs to refresh. Well, if we had one right here, it would automatically update, I think. So, store named bundle and get named bundle. I think that would be a really good idea. Yeah, potentially, but I need to think about it. I would need to think about it. Yeah. Because that could supercharge a lot of this. Yeah, I'm gonna go and cook that up later on. But yes, I think that's everything for today. Again, recursive subdivision. Oh, I didn't do ray marching. I can say that for another day. But yes, we're almost at 1 hour and 30 minutes. Into a nice frame. Yep, that's still split phase, and all that is doing that. So yeah, turn this into a node group if you want to use it conveniently. Maybe, Yeah, no, that's all good. But yeah, nice and wavy. You love to see it. Anything else I'm missing? I think it might be everything. Alright, oh wait, one last question. I was a little stumped when I saw 5.1 alpha already getting releases. FYI, 5.0 crashed when I dropped a Gobo spotlight from the asset library into my scene. Yes, report any of the bugs you see in 5.0. But yeah, this is technically 5.0, just like 1 or 2 updates after the deadline, because 5.0 has a performance regression that limits it to like 7 frames per second, while this current version runs at like 200 frames per second. I'm assuming that's a little bug while they're switching some things around, and it'll probably get fixed before Monday or Tuesday, who knows. But yes, anyway. Thank you all for watching, I'll see you next time. Have a good one.